Help me, Obi-Wan. My mash has stopped working. I need some advice on how to fix this. Welcome to Distilling Canada. This is the channel of our journey from learning, exploring, and understanding how to become a distiller. We're doing this under the guidance of another distillery when we started. Now we have our own distillery. We're starting back at the beginning and we're going to start and walk through some of this. Now, one thing I do want to make clear is we do not in any way support any illegal activity. Check your country's legal rules towards distilling. In New Zealand and in Russia, it is legal to home distill. And if you're applying and moving towards getting a distillery license, follow along. This is great information. We would like you to subscribe, share us with your friends, and on the bottom there's a little bell. If you hit the notification on that, you'll be notified whenever we upload a new video. So let's get to it and see what's coming up. I'm really not sure what's worse, asking a Dalek for advice or thinking a Dalek's R2-D2. I don't know. Anyways, today we're going to have a little chat about things I'm seeing online. Love answering questions. I will help out anyone I can. But there are some basic, basic things you should know or should at least have available when asking for help. So one of the most common things is my mash is stuck. It's been 5 days, give or take. It still tastes sweet in a sour sort of way, and it's not bubbling anymore. The airlock's not making any bubbles through it. And that's it. Sometimes that's all you'll see. You prod for a few more questions, and there really is no more answers coming. It's pretty hard to help someone in that situation. Hey, we'd love to, anybody on the forums, guys, we'd love to help you out, but we do need a little more information. So sometimes, sometimes that's just not enough. So, that might be ready. We'll look at that now. So what are some of the things you're going to want to see? So, and hey, look, I have a whiteboard. So, when asking a question about your mash, some of the first things we're going to want to know, and you should be providing instantaneously, is specific gravity. So what is your SG? Specific gravity. That's the measurement you should be taking in two spots. It is the first, as soon as your mash is cooled down, so you've made your mash, it's cooled down, then you should be looking for a number. And that number, for me, a starting gravity for me is 1.078 to 1.090. Usually a little less than that. Now, why is that important to me? Well, let's have a closer look at the gauge. Now, I do have several of these here. It's a colorful one. Yeah. Always have two, because you're going to break one. Well, if you have two, you never break them. If you have one, you'll break it pretty quick. So this is a color-coded one. It is great for the wine and beer industry. Not so much for us, although when you don't have your glasses on, then it's useful, because you can sometimes, if you know what the numbers are. So let me come around. So on this is a hydrometer, specific gravity hydrometer. Do not mix this up with a proof and trail hydrometer. They're different. They measure different things. This one's measuring specific gravity, so the sugars that are in your mash. And as you can see by this one, and here's the number. So this is the specific gravity scale here. It starts off at 0.0 or 0.990. And then it moves through. And I'll show you on the bigger chart on the whiteboard there. And it moves through, and this one actually goes up to 1.170. So you can maybe see that if the camera will focus. I don't know, it's pretty hard. I'm a little close. This camera's not great for the close-ups. So this one is weighted for the specific gravity of the sugars in your mix. The lower this sits, the closer to water it is. So if I put it in this deeper water, this should sit right at 1. So we can see this sitting right at 1. This is a $12 instrument from Amazon. It's not expensive. I use it a fair amount. I don't actually use it for certified work here in the distillery, but I do use it to get, just a little basis on some of the things I'm doing. Neat thing about this one here, it also has a couple, this is called the triple scale hydrometer. So you have specific gravity, and we're going to walk through that in a bit. And then over here you have potential alcohol, and we'll talk about that as well. And then over here you have the balling scale, or sometimes known as bricks. In European countries, bricks and the balling scale is used more often. I'm not that familiar with it. In North America, we pretty much stick to the specific gravity scale, and that's the points I'll be talking to. Whatever I say on this, you can actually just rotate this around and see where it is over here, so that gives you what you're used to. So yeah, it's the brick scale is percentage of sugars within your mash. Once again, we don't really use that scale. At least I'm not familiar enough with it myself. Okay, so we're looking into here, and we're going to be asking, what is your specific gravity as you start? Also, and this is kind of leading into the next episode I'm doing, is we're going to be devising our own recipes. Before we buy any grains, buy any sugar, before we start mixing anything, we're going to do it on paper. So there's a couple of interesting whiskeys I want to go after. I actually know what the mash bill is for them. So we'll come down, we'll do it on paper. We'll know how much grain to buy, how much sugar, if we need sugar even, and those sorts of things. So that'll be coming up in the future. So we have this. That's specific gravity. That is your starting gravity. All right, so we want to know what that is. So you measure that out, and you can tell us, well, I started at 1.078. So if I look down here on this scale, 1.078, and that's, I'm hoping you can see this. If not, we'll pop up a little graph, hopefully here. And 1.0878 is here. That, if I come across, that's going to give me about 9.5% alcohol, potential alcohol. So if I'm starting here, and I pitch my yeast here, and as I ferment, as the sugars are being eaten by the yeast, the sugars are disappearing and the alcohol is gaining. And as we get down, and we're looking to finish at 1.000, basically water, neutral, or even lower, where there's a little more alcohol and it's a little buoyant. So, if we can get down to 0.990, can't get any better than that I know of. So that gives me a potential for what I can expect out of my alcohol. Now, why is this important to know right off the bat when I'm pitching my yeast? Because this will actually tell me what yeast I'm going to be pitching to. So if I'm at 1.78, actually if I'm below probably the 1.080, which is my 10% alcohol, then I can probably get away with using a bread yeast. Because a bread yeast will be able to consume that, and with proper nutrients in there, it shouldn't have any issue. And that's most bread yeasts. Fleischmann's is probably one of the better ones. Lallemann's a great one as well. So at least I know under 10%, so that within that area here, bread used to be fine. Above this, I'm going to be looking for something a little different. So I'm going to be looking for a champagne yeast or a daddy yeast, because when we get above this percentage, once the sugars start getting consumed, the alcohol is starting to build up more, yeast start to have a tolerance to alcohol. And a bread yeast tolerance is a lot lower. So at 10%, the alcohol is starting to affect it. Above 10%, the alcohol is going to start killing your yeast. So bread yeast is not good above this level. If we're doing a mash and we come in at 15% or even higher, 18%. You know, you hear guys going for 18%. Then you're starting to look at more along the lines of a turbo yeast or a champagne yeast with heavy nutrients involved. Because they are more tolerant of the alcohol and they can survive in this 20 to percent range. Not many, but they can. So that is knowing this scale here allows you to pick your proper yeast, and that's just prior to doing anything. But you're stuck. You're having issues. So when you go online, you say, guys, I need help. Great. Give us the info. So, what's your starting gravity? We want to know that. And what is your present gravity? Alright, so you throw in your hydrometer, you pull some out, throw in your hydrometer, you read off where it's floating at, and you say, oh guys, I'm at 1.40. Okay, so I'm just going to stop this for the moment. This is me in the future looking back at what I just said. So as I wrote this, oftentimes when I'm talking gravity points, I'll leave out the 1.0. I'll just say 40 gravity points, 78 gravity points, things like that. So when I actually wrote this, I put 1.40. Wow. Wow. Okay, so everything I say from this point on, please note that this is 1.040. So you've gone from 1.078 down to 1.040. Now we can go back and see what he's talking about. Some days. And it's been, 10 days. Alright, so we're going to look at that going, alright, so it's got 38 points over a 10-day period. Yeah, probably has an issue. Where's this issue at? Well, we need just a little more information. Our next one is going to be your pH. That's a big one. When you first go after this reading, you should be measuring pH as well. pH is very simple to measure. You can, once again, keep in mind, this probe, $12. This probe, I think it was around 15. I do have alcohol probes. There's also the refractometers, which they're pretty cool. You have to calibrate them constantly. They do go out, and that one is actually, specific gravity. So this one does have specific gravity, and this one here is an alcohol, so it's a proof and trail. It's kind of neat. You put a drop on here, close it up, you look through, and it gives you a reading. There's a blue line that comes across, gives you a reading of what you're at for specific gravity. Kind of handy, really quick if you have this. But there's lots of different ways of doing this. This works really well for doing your specific gravity. But if you want to do your pH, then this is just a local style to here. And there are like little yellow ones in that. There's manual calibrators. This one's an automatic, so it actually comes with some liquid, which is pH set, and you just run this and do an automatic setup. So this one here, I just push the button, I start it up, and I run it into here, and this was out of the tap, so I should be close to 7, 8 to 8. It does vary on days. So we basically wait for this to stop blinking, and that tells us what our pH is. You can also, now this was probably a little pricey, around $35. Seen them for sale for $14. So watch what you're getting. If that's an issue, and Amazon again, if that's an issue, test strips. You know, your pool and your spa test strips? Go down to your local brewing shop, your beer brewing place, winemakers, wine especially. pH is very important for them. So on that, you know, you get little test strips from them, and then those test strips go low enough. What we're looking ideally is for between 5.2 to 5.5 on our pH scale. Now, 7. 7 is neutral. That's, you know, the perfect spot for drinking water. Well, that's alkaline, and you have acidic. I'm a little surprised because I think my water has always been a little bit high. So yeah, so we want to know what pH is. You can check the pH of your starting mash because that's going to tell you how your amylase is going to work. Amylase works better when it has, I think it's about 6.2, 5.6, 6.2, in that range for pH, and your amylase will convert your starches to sugars a lot better if you're doing a grain mash or a partial grain mash. So what we're looking for is pH. Now, why are we looking for that now that you're having an issue? Because yeast can't be active in a low pH environment. That's normally what will happen. So if we get that sucker down to 3.8 or 3.2, I've seen that, your yeast will go dormant. They'll sit there and do nothing. All right, so I stalled out from here to here. That's where I stalled out. I'm sitting at this. This is the reason why. Not always, but it's the leader in it. Nutrients are also at play, so we'll ask you if you put nutrients in. But even if you didn't, we have some options now. Especially if your pH is good, then we're going to start looking at nutrients. And it could quite possibly be that that yeast strain you used is not adequate for what type of mash you're doing. So, you know, sometimes that is an option, but if your pH is dropped down to that, then we have to do some things. On this particular case, we have to actually lift the pH up. Lifting the pH up is as simple as baking soda. Not my favorite solution, and be cautious. A teaspoon per 5 gallons, and then you know, check it and do it again to bring it up to 5.2. Not my favorite stuff. It's a sodium-based product. Doesn't carry over. Most people say no. I've never really noticed it, but yeah, I'm cautious of it. Calcium carbonate is probably what I use the most, and I do have a large box of it back there. I'm at the distillery today. So that's what I'll use. None of it, non-flavoring, nothing. So I'll use that to bring it up. If my mash is really high or my water is really high, man, I don't know why that was at 7. Then what I'm going to use is citric acid. If I don't have citric acid, real Red Bull. Sorry, old commercial. You have to be my age to understand that one. Okay, so this is just lemon juice, real lemon juice. It's from concentrate. That'll work just as well. That's the citric acid. Once again, there will be some flavoring in here. It's lemons, but that doesn't seem to transfer through. So, and in the absence of that, grab a lemon or a lime and squeeze it in. Once again, you guys, you're not doing 1,000 liters, 2,000 liter batches, so be cautious on how much you use. Just need a little bit. Balancing out your pH is fairly easy. You know, if you don't have baking soda, I have heard of using tums, roll-aids. Even the fruit ones, the guys are grinding them up in a mortise and pestle and putting the powder in as well, and that does the trick. That does have a majority of calcium carbonate in it, and it does work. But convenience, just grab the baking soda For the amount you're going to use, you probably won't notice much. And if you can get calcium carbonate, go for it. So these are the big ones. Okay? I want to know, you're having an issue. We all have issues. I want to know specific gravity and starting gravity. I want to know your present gravity, 1.4. Next, I want to know how long that has been fermenting for, whatever amount of days. If that's only been 3 days, and you're not seeing any bubbles in your airlock, your gas is escaping somewhere. 95, 98% of the time, you have a leak in your fermenter, because that's a perfectly acceptable 3-day run. 10 days, yeah, should be a lot more. Should be just about finished. Should be finished in 5 days, depending on what you're doing. Your pH, that's the big one. Test strips, cheap little indicator, that's all you need. And learn a bit on that. So once we have this information, we can narrow down almost exactly what your issue is pretty quickly. So if you started off, well, and we'll ask that, because I know that if you start off with specific gravity of 1.120. So that puts you right here. Just over 15% potential alcohol. That means if all the sugars are consumed by the yeast, you could end up with 15% of that mash being 100% alcohol. Will you get all that? No. But between your foreshots, your heads, your tails, and the efficiency of your system, you're not going to get that. But you can calculate out what you're going to get. So if I'm at this, and you're stalled, one of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out, okay, well, he's got a pretty high specific gravity. What was your yeast? What yeast did you pitch? Well, and one of the replies was, well, I just used a simple bread yeast. Okay, so bread yeast is typically not tolerant above 10%. Have I reached my 10% mark yet? No, I'm only about 5% between this conversion. But if I've gone from this down to this as dead, then yeah, I've gone above my 10%. So the yeast can't handle that much. You can throw nutrients at it, you can balance everything out, you can keep on adding other stuff. But all you have to do is realize that your yeast is not tolerant of it. Don't add any more of that type of yeast because it's already died. Now add a champagne yeast. You can even add a bit of a turbo. A turbo is a champagne yeast essentially with all the nutrients and everything in there. I'm not a big fan of some of the off flavors I get. I'd rather add my nutrients separately. So add a champagne yeast, and the champagne yeast is far more capable of working in this area. So that will finish this down. If I started here, that'll finish this down to 0. So once you see what I mean? As soon as we have this information, we can help you out. As soon as you have that information, it should be easier to figure out. You shouldn't be sitting there going, I don't know. You will at first. We all do. That's expected. And that's why we join these groups to help each other out. We've learned. I've annoyed the hell out of people over the years. That's just part of it. So, let's have a look. So this is the straight water again. And evidently not enough of it. So let's just add a little bit here. Okay, now it's floating. Semi-floating. So this is at 1.000. So as I add sugar to my mash, as I make my mash a higher density, then, and this is just straight sugar, guys. Once that mixes in, it's going to start rising. See it rising up? This is cold water, so it's not really diluting that well. Shouldn't be using this as a stir stick either. I should. Okay, and let's just go for it. You can see the difference. The sugar's raised it up. If that was warmer water, the sugar would have dissolved, become part of it with the water, and that should be a lot higher. But you get the point. The higher the density, the more sugar in there, the higher that's going to sit. Now that's sitting at, remember the old Ferd stuff? That's 1.060 without being blended or anything like that, which means I have potential alcohol of 7%. So as that sits, I can distill and expect a maximum, potential maximum of 7% after it's been fermented out. Yeah, hopefully you're getting the idea of this. For a start, I do have certified ones in the shop here. We have the refractometers and we have the distillery unit. So this is an Tampar Snap 51, and all I do is I put this in either the alcohol or specific into the mash, and it tells me what my specific gravity is. Also instantly tells me what my alcohol level is. So, you know, it's the expensive end. You don't want that. The distillery, you need that. Yeah, you need something like that, just to be sure. So this I just ran down. I just grabbed this out of the fermenter, and I figured I was going to be running this tomorrow. It's a 1,000-liter mash. I'm going to use this to rinse. Alright, so I'm at 1.020. 2.24. Alright, so that's not ready to run. I would have expected this to be a little bit lower. So, because now I'm suspect, now this has been, you know, it's been reasonable. I think I did this on the 22nd, and today's the 30th. So that or 23rd, one of the two. And today's the 30th, so it's been a reasonable amount of time that it could have been. I know I cut the yeast down on this a little bit. I wanted to stress just a touch to bring out a little more flavors on my yeast. But I should expect that to be used up a little more. So, let's have a quick look. What's my pH say? You know, this is a perfect example. You know, something's wrong with my mash. What's going on? So I've checked, and I know that the specific gravity of this was at 1.082. So once again, a bread style yeast would be fine in this. You know, it's tolerant because we're doing, you know, huge amounts, 1,000 liters at a time. I don't have to go for higher specific gravity. All right, wow, can you see this? I checked this 2 days ago, and I knew my pH was just a touch low, but it was still within reason. Right now I'm sitting at 3.9. So my pH on this is low. And there are, like I said, there's a few things you can do. Essentially a little bit of baking soda. So sprinkle that in. Yeah, that's a lot. Okay, so you saw me pour this into here. And all I want to do is basically just show you that it does come out. And I put in too much, just to exaggerate a bit. So we're at 3.9. It's only about 6.6. Doesn't take much to bring up your pH. So that's too high for what I want. That's why I say only do a little bit at a time. Teaspoon per 5 gallons is where you should be trying, and then check from that. I want it between 5.2. 5.2 is what I aim for. 5.5, 5.6. I'm happy in that range, and I know that if my yeast is stalled, so we come back here, and we know our yeast is stalled at this point. Then adding that little bit to bring it back up, you'll see the yeast just instantly come back to life. And it'll probably polish off the rest of this. Just, I didn't mean to go into explaining or trying to help you out. What my intent was to familiarize you with the use of these. Okay? This instrument, they're not expensive. And you'll hear controversy. You know, lots of guys will dip their finger and go, sour, it's good, we can run it. That's the way to go. Or it's sweet, but I don't see the bubbles. So you get that constantly. And if that's the way your style you want to work, that's great. We can't help you though as a rule. We can offer 1,001 suggestions. My taste buds aren't your taste buds. So if you tell me it's sour or just a bit sweet, I can't relate to that. If you tell me the specific gravity is at 1.040, I think it's some weird noises over here. You tell me my specific gravity is at 1.040 and it's been there for a while, I know what that measurement is. And I know what to do from there, or at least how to help you figure things out. You tell me, and if there's anyone here that can actually tell the difference between, you know, neutral at 7.0 or acidic at 8.0, or, you know, alkaline 8.0, acidic at 3.9, I can't physically taste that difference. It's a tingling on your tongue and everything else. Can't taste difference. I need the measurement. Once I have that, I can help you out. And you don't have to buy an instrument. Like I said, those pool test strips, hot tub test strips, or you can get ones that go low enough at the brewery stores, wine stores. That's all you need. And it's information. Having information is what it's all about. You know, once you get this down, and like I say, we're going to be designing recipes shortly in the upcoming episodes. And we're going to need to know where we want to start. That's the first thing we want to know, because that's going to tell us what yeast we can use, or what style of yeast, what, if any, nutrients we need. So we need to get a little bit of an understanding here. You know, if I put this much in and put this much in, it tastes a bit like this, and I toss this much in, that's the way my granddad did it. Will it work? Sure. Sure, most anything will work. Will it be efficient and will it be really good? That's hard to say. I gotta go figure what this is. All right, so one of the last things we have to look at, once again, when you're asking for help, you're asking for, and you're gonna provide in the message specific gravity of when it started, present gravity, what you're at right now, and how long that took to get from there to there. The pH, so that we know where that is. And then the only other thing that is truly necessary is temperature. So we also want to know what that's at, because that will slow yeast down as well. So if your temperature is sitting at, you know, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, your yeast has gone to sleep. And it'll wake up soon to warm it back up. If it's gone up to 6 degrees Celsius, yeah, you cooked it. It's not coming back. So, now just be aware, your temp is an important part of it as well. Hopefully this helps you out. I know one thing. We all, from time to time, need assistance. We all need to talk to someone, bounce things off of, and it's so much easier if you have the basic information. And this stuff helps you out too. We're not talking expensive things. You know, I showed you the instruments, I showed you the cost roughly. You can find them. So, although there's lots of people will say, yeah, you stick your finger in it, it's fine, you still get it there. But yeah, they've also asked questions too, and you know, we're asking, so let's go through this. Let's see, you know, when you need to ask a question, just point forward, put everything in there. You know, my specific gravity when I started was this, my present gravity is this, it's been this many days, my pH is this, and my temperature is this. You put all that down, and I betcha you'll answer your own question pretty quickly. If you don't, then sure, that's all the information we can really fine tune. Like, all right, so what type of greens did you put in? Would there be enough there for nutrients? This sort of thing, so we can hone down quicker into what you need to get you going again. Thanks for watching. Hopefully it was helpful, and we'll see you again here at Still Canada.